Now we have created a map of our industry, we can use this to start discovering new ways forward for our business school and discussing why we should be making these moves and not others. And using an ice hockey analogy, if we're going to make moves, we want to be skating to where the puck is going, not where it's been. There's no point investing in a project that meets the needs users had yesterday. But how do we predict the future? We can't do it exactly. No one can, despite what the internet will tell you. But we can apply economic climate patterns to the map of our industry and anticipate how the business landscape is going to change. As a result, we'll be able to identify where the emerging opportunities and threats are. Wardley's mapping method uses 30 well-known economic models, we call them climate patterns, that describe how competitive business landscapes change. The models are grouped into 6 categories: the components themselves and how we deal with them, the financial aspects of components, the speed of change, inertia or resistance to change in the industry, the impacts of competitors, and our ability to predict things. You can picture these economic models like trade winds that early explorers learned about and used to navigate around the world. And this is what we're going to do now. We're going to anticipate how the landscape of business schools is changing and where our options for action are. We're going to take a look at 9 climate patterns. We'll take 4 patterns from the category about components and 1 each from the other categories. We've already used one of these in the previous video. There we took our value chains and turned them into a map by applying the first of our 9 climate patterns, which is that everything evolves through supply and demand competition. This means components that differentiate our business school and create value for us, such as our curriculum and faculty, will face more competition in the future. And this competition will force these components to evolve, moving them to the right of the map. Now, what curriculums or faculties will look like in the future is currently unclear, but we do know they'll evolve in response to user needs. For example, curriculums will have to keep pace with the shifting workplace changes, such as people working from home, and our faculty will have to learn how to incorporate new practices that are emerging around this, such as managing teams or teaching students that are located in different places. The only way to stay ahead in this game is to continually listen to and respond to users' needs, especially unmet needs that no other business school is meeting, or monitoring what rivals are doing and quickly copying what seems to be working. And this brings us to the second of our 9 climate patterns. You have no choice over evolution. You either adapt or die. This is known as the Red Queen effect, and it was first proposed by evolutionary biologist Lee Van Valen in 1973, and describes how species must continuously adapt and evolve to keep from going extinct. The Red Queen is a character in the novel Alice in Wonderland. The Red Queen tells Alice that in Wonderland, one has to keep running just to remain in the same place. And this is a warning against complacency, for what creates value today needs to keep evolving if it's to keep creating value for tomorrow. And you have no choice about this. You see, business is a democratic game, which means that your rivals have a say in what happens, and if they see a component making money, they too will offer this to your users. The next climate pattern we'll look at is that when components evolve, their characteristics change. Components on the left of the map, in uncharted territory, are unpredictable, different, exciting, and unusual. But as they start moving from left to right, driven by the forces of supply and demand competition, they start transitioning into something else. By the time they have evolved to industrialized components to the right of the map, they have become known, stable, and low-margin activities and practices. They're essential costs of doing business. This means you need different types of people working with components at different stages of evolution. It's something not often acknowledged, but it has a big effect on you and your colleagues. Let's look at an example. Remember our concept for having a local network of businesses into which we place our students for internships and recruitment post-graduation? If this is a relatively rare and novel activity in our market, It means we're going to need a particular type of person to work on this. We're going to need an innovative problem solver, someone who is comfortable working with uncertainty and thrives when challenged to do something others haven't done before. They are your commandos. They work hard and fast and cheap, though often with a low level of refinement. They probe new territory and take risks. They pitch tents and make do. They don't build fancy barracks. And this is the right thing to do, as refinement is expensive if you're not sure the idea will work. Commandos in a business build the first products. And while it might look and work like a product, it usually isn't fully formed. It still has bugs and major failings that are beneath the notice of commando types. It's at this point that your infantry type people take over. While the commandos form a beachhead, it is the infantry who attack the beach en masse and slog out the early victory, establishing the basics needed to survive and grow. This second wave of people take the prototype, test it, refine it, manufacture it, write the manuals, market it, and ideally produce a profit. While the commandos make success possible, it's the infantry that makes success happen. Once your business network has been built, and the practices of providing incentives have been well established, you need a different type of person. The police. The police want to drive further growth, but not by planning more invasions or landing on more beaches. Instead, they want to build bigger teams who can start driving economies of scale. These are your adaptive problem solvers, those who are adept at taking a profitable product and turning it into something else entirely. Think about the provision of electricity as a utility, which is now provided by monopoly-like players and powers the value chain of almost every industry out there, such as the computing industry, which has also evolved from a niche idea invented by commando types and was taken up by the infantry types who drove the computing revolution. And now it's the likes of Amazon, who provide cloud computing power, which is a component almost as important to most industries as electricity is. So on the map of our business school, we can see that we've got components in different stages of evolution, which means we're going to need different types of people to handle these. And this is why we don't include people when we're initially mapping our landscape. We need to be able to see where we're focusing first, discussing why we're focusing there and not somewhere else, and how we're going to do this. For example, by having the right type of people in the right place. And this brings us to our fourth climate pattern. In the same way that you need different types of people for different components in different stages of evolution, those people are also going to need different methods as well. Because, despite what you might read in the business press or hear from your friendly local management consultant, there is no one business method ring to rule them all. You really don't need to agile your IT, agile your operations, agile your business, and agile your agile. That's because agile is a series of methods that's useful in one particular part of the map. On the left-hand side, where there's a lot of uncertainty about components, and they're going to change a lot. Here, agile can be great, as it can help you reduce the cost of change associated with new things by showing you how to develop them in fast, inexpensive iterations. But as the component evolves and moves to the middle of the map, into the product stage, it's no longer changing as much now, so agile methods are less useful here. What's needed now is learning how to continually improve the component so you can stay ahead of the competition, and how to reduce waste, so your version continues to be profitable even as the competition heats up. For that, you're going to need something like Lean, which is a great method for this. Or, if this is a component you use rather than sell, you might just buy it as an off-the-shelf product. Then, as the component evolves further, moving to the right of the map into the commoditized stage, it's probably become a mission-critical component upon which your entire value chain depends, such as electricity. And that's why the focus for highly industrialized components on the right of the map should be more on removing deviation in performance to ensure the components can be relied on. And for that, we might use something like Six Sigma, or outsource this to utility providers like electricity companies or cloud providers, and let them worry about keeping the lights on and the servers running. Therefore, while most methods, including Agile, Lean, Six Sigma, and outsourcing, are useful, they're only useful in the right context. And that means our business school, which has components spread right across the map, needs more than one method to be in play. So if you're trying to run Agile everywhere and finding that it works well in some parts of your business but not in others, you now know that it's not the fault of your people. It's the fault of whoever decided to implement a single method everywhere without looking at a map first. So these are the first 4 climate patterns or economic rules of the game, which are concerned about the components themselves. In the next video, we'll take a look at another 5 patterns that focus on financial aspects of components, speed, inertia, competitors, and what we can predict about the future. So watch out for that in part 6 of Strategy Sessions Made Simple.